Hey, good morning everyone. Frank Valkyrie here. Always welcome to my channel. It's Tuesday morning here in Amsterdam. It's a cloudy day here outside, but at least it's not raining. So today, you know what I want to do? I want to do a reaction to a video that I saw another reaction of, and it's regarding this guy called Sasha, and the channel is called Sasha Show, Sasha Second, and he's basically interviewing a woman, making the old argument men are stronger physically than women, and seeing her reaction. And the video is called "I Didn't Mean to Make Her Cry, New York City Interview Gone Wrong." And I wasn't watching this video, I was watching a reaction of another guy which I forgot, and a couple of minutes in I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go take this video and yeah, react myself to it and see what's going on. Let's watch this thing together. So what's going on here?
More rare than a woman who naturally would be more inclined to be connected to her emotion. You know what I mean? Like we just have differences, and that's what we're just exploring. You know. She's not crying.
What are you doing?
We're talking to people on the streets.
About what?
Why is this being confrontational? Why is
It's not competition because
I'm very curious.
you've upset the lady.
The following is the full unedited interview that led to this confrontation. Is this topic too taboo to be discussed in Western civilization?
Excuse me, miss. Hello. Hi. Can you tell me what we've missed here? Because it looks
I like
like
this
something
part.
great happened, and we just showed up now. What's going on here?
It was in this part.
We're in acting class, and we've chosen political speeches that we admire, and we've taken them to the park to give to the public and practice just spreading the words that we find passionate and powerful. Yeah.
That's great. I was wondering what was going on because she's up there and people, all these people, and I'm like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Can we ask you a really quick question for a little video? Just whatever comes to your mind naturally. What would you say? Can you name some things women just have a knack for more so than men?
Probably compassion and empathy and generosity of heart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of people go with that. And what comes to your mind if I say what would you say men are better at than women?
I don't know. A lot. I think both have their pluses and minuses. I think men are better at
Wow. She really can think of anything.
probably guarding themselves. Yeah.
Guarding themselves.
Not so good with the emotions.
Against other men, I suppose.
No, I think that's it. Yeah. Well, they're good at a lot of things, but that's
Nothing that you can think of right now.
that's just the one that came up. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's stop right here.
Yeah.
What do I think of this? Of course, to generalize is such a strange territory, you know, like we know that each individual might be in touch with certain aspect of his personality, of other. There is really few things which might create a true difference in ourselves. And namely, one is the fact that women have different organs which they are meant to reproduce and to harbor life and to deliver life, and man has a different type of reproductional system which hates, you know, together combined happens the mystery of creation and life. So this is the basic difference in the physicality, emotionally and spiritual. I think there the line is a little bit more blurred, because sure there are tendency in the way women approach their emotions and the relationship with their emotions and you know, and the people around them, and men they deal in a different way. This does not mean that we are not both capable of actually venturing in the same areas. So obviously here we see a little bit of conceited behavior from her, because if she cannot think of anything, that's already a one-sided argument in my opinion. Even though, you know, let's continue. The interviewer, it's already going for the usual stereotype of, you know, men are stronger physically, of course, because basically that's it.
like muscle stuff. Usually
Yeah,
they're pretty good at
same.
muscles.
Muscle stuff?
You know, like strength.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
he's
an easy
right.
one to
I
go
mean,
to.
I'm not.
Oh, I think women are good at that too. Yeah.
But like as a tendency, generally speaking, you know, women are more connected to the emotions, but men are usually more muscly. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's been the stereotype, but I think that's definitely changing. You know.
I
Like
think
women genetically are catching up to men in strength.
Yeah, I think the emphasis on men having to be so strong and
She's
like
missing
that
the
sort of
point,
stereotype, I think
completely.
that's going down.
You think that it's an emphasis on men being strong, or men just are naturally just
Yeah.
stronger because of their genetics?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's.
I think women are just as strong as men.
Physically?
Yeah, I do.
But they're not though, right?
Yeah.
They're not. Like, look at this. I'm a normal dude. Look at my size.
She's
I'm just
triggered now.
bigger,
Here we go.
right?
She's
So
pissed.
I'm gonna have more muscle. That's a normal. how it is.
Oh, this silly stuff makes me laugh.
No, there are of course exceptions, right? Of course, there's men who are like this tall, and you could just slap them and beat them up. with
Oh,
one
look
hand.
at how
Generally
triggered
speaking.
she is. Poor
Of course,
thing.
there's men who are intuitive and very emotional and in their hearts.
She's almost
and very
enraged
good at
inside.
connecting with their emotions too, but that's more rare than a woman who naturally would be more inclined to be connected to her emotion. You know what I mean? Like we just.
She's
have
almost
differences.
can't believe that
That's what we're just
he's saying
exploring.
those things.
You know?
Let me stop right here with that face. And to me, unfortunately, she also shows how entitled in her beliefs she is. And even though, like I said, the argument of the guy is so simple, it's the typical argument, of course, because that's literally one of the few things where you can go to. But to make the point, it's right. He's completely right, and it's just the way it is. You know, of course, on average, men are just stronger, and it's just a tendency that it's throughout creation. It's not just for us human beings, but for basically almost any other animal on the planet, or mammals, with the exception probably of some critters or strange things. But for the majority of warm-blooded creatures, mammals, the male is always stronger physically and bigger, and in nature it's even more apparent. That does not mean that a larger size female in the wild, we're talking of animal here, cannot take on like a smaller size bear, for instance, like a big white polar bear female can definitely attack, like, you know, a smaller polar bear male, whatever. So of course there are exceptions, but on average it's just a fact. It's a fact of nature. It's just that's why, like in competitions, people don't mix women and men. It's one of the few things. Of course, it's also redundant to go always in this type of argument, because it's just a fact. It's a scientific fact. But the things here that surprises me is the her behavior of absolutely being almost a little bit brainwashed by the new narrative of not recognizing at least those differences. And I know that her emphasis is she's trying hard to keep the dialogue also in a more equal sphere, which in today's landscape I completely understand, because obviously emotionally and practically women can do all the things that men do, and vice versa. Of course, it's just the way or nature of our mind, even though we're a different tendency. But to almost have this disillusioned approach that you cannot recognize those simple facts, it's already alarming, because it creates a sort of bubble vision, you know, like where things are distorted, and that can be dangerous, because you start to make up your own interpretation about genetics and things, which is wrong.
We just find it really interesting how people are scared to say that we're different. I think it's okay to say that we're different. We all have our
Yes,
things that
it
we're
is
good at.
okay. I mean,
Doesn't mean
different
any sex is
physically,
superior,
at
but
least,
just-
like
we're just
like
different,
I
it's not the
said.
same, you know.
You have ovaries, and we have scrotums,
Strong.
you know, that kind of stuff. But
Is
that's
a
it.
difficult one to apply to this, because it's like saying women aren't strong?
We're only talking about physical strength. We're not talking like overall strength or goodness or any of those things. Just physically. That's all. That's all it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I get that.
yeah, you
but I'm
should
just
get that, of
questioning
course,
if
because
there's
it's
another
simple.
word that might, you know, make it easier for people to say yes or no to that, you know?
I don't know. What's another good word for strong?
No, that's what I'm proposing is.
Good
There's
word,
no-
though. Strong is the word. Strong.
Yeah,
Look
I agree.
Look at that.
Strong. So that's the only
Strong.
word.
So yeah, that's.
It's
don't you
unfortunate, but
think it's
that's how it
interesting,
is.
though, that,
I mean,
like that you yourself, you kind of struggled when we asked, what are men better at? You kind of, it was a struggle. It was like there was some part of you that didn't want to admit that.
Because you don't want to go towards the, well, I don't want to go towards the like hyper masculinity and like feed into that sort of like
yeah, I agree with
know,
her.
box that men are put in, and there's a box women are put in.
Yes, I agree on
and
this. I
so I
completely
think
agree with her.
It's a challenging time to be like, what, you know.
Well, here's what I think. I think by admitting that
Yeah.
we're different,
Yeah.
but ultimately we're just two halves of one coin, right? Like we need each other.
Yes.
We love each other.
Yes.
So for real happiness and joy and
Yes.
peace to happen on the planet, we need to accept that we're different,
Yes.
but not see any one side as superior or
Yes.
better. Just that we're just different. And then,
Yes,
and then
amen,
we
brother.
accept those differences.
Amen.
We love each other. We come together, and we make beautiful babies.
Yes. Amen.
That's what I think.
She's
Are you-
entitled,
I
though.
agree, or-
She's entitled.
no,
It's
that's just what
sad,
I
though,
think.
because she's getting defensive
do that?
because, of course, it's a pity. Come on, loosen
Yeah,
up.
I think that everyone's different. I think, yeah.
Do you?
Do I think everybody's different?
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
seems lost. Like, is everything okay with you?
Hello, sir. Do you guys want to come talk to us? I think they like you more. I think they like you. How you doing? How you doing? You want to come talk to us? We're talking. We're talking about the differences between men and women, and we're just asking people. She's not okay. Well, I don't know. How am I gonna fix it? She's not crying.
She's crying.
I didn't ask anything. I was just asking
Oh,
what's the
poor
difference between men
thing.
and women.
Maybe she was emotionally unprepared.
Is she crying? All right, let's go talk to her. Let's go talk to her. How's it going?
What y'all doing?
We're talking to people on the streets
About what?
about the difference between men and women, what men are great at, what women are great at, everything. You want to talk to us?
Who are you for? What is this for?
For my YouTube channel.
Why is this being confrontational? Why is
It's not a confrontation. I'm very curious.
You've upset the lady you were talking to. She's
Oh,
in an upset state.
I haven't asked anything upsetting at all.
So what have you asked? What are some of the questions you've asked?
I'm gonna go through them with you. You want to do it? No, let's go through the questions. Let's go through the questions. All right. So we're gonna go through the questions.
Does there need to be pauses?
You were very confrontational to that one.
Hang on.
Were you confrontational?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think you.
I know that was
Wow.
intense, right? So when that happened, I couldn't believe. I'm gonna share with you guys what happened, just because it's interesting, right?
Wow.
I couldn't believe.
Well, let's.
it
I want to
because
pause for a second here.
I didn't ask.
I'm curious to see also where this leads, and it's really unfortunate because, of course, he's trying to make a point of accepting our few very basal differences that we have, so that once we recognize that, we can rejoice. In that respect, I think that's very important. Even though it can be in landscape of today, emotional state we are in as a society, especially on this whole dialogue of equality, it might be taken in the wrong way. And as you can see in the face of the girl, she just took it completely in the wrong way, almost like she took it too personally, instead of just understanding that those differences are real. They've been like that, not because we chose to, not because we just came up with it 50 years ago or whatever. It's just been like that. And we have created and evolved, and we're still evolving society around our roles. So we have also not to forget that we are continuing. Even confrontation like this, for as much as they're simple, they're a clear signal of how we are reinterpreting, re-understanding each other, revaluing each other to move forward. It's necessary. So dialogue is always good. And going back to the simplicity of, yes, we are different. Yes, we are different in physically. That's it. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. People are different within each other. We have those physical differences. We accept that. Let's move on. That there is no other things we are different about, like that it's so valuable that we should be concerned or relegate each other to a different category type of thing. Of course, I have a penis, you have a vagina. That's it. The differences end there. You have breasts, I have smaller breasts. That's it, you know? and all the rest is just emotional thing that all of us can explore and just venture in. The whole spectrum of things, of existence and of emotions and things, it's available for all of us, male and women, and depending on where you at spiritually as a human being, you can venture through yourself, within yourself, to understand more of you, and that has absolutely no differences. Your feminine side, your masculine side, it's just within us, in both female or male. Not to acknowledge those things is the same thing as not acknowledging that men are, they have the tendency to be physically stronger because that's how nature designed us. That's it. That's the end of the argument. We shouldn't create more of that based on whatever ideas or new philosophical sort of trendy thoughts that were given by some French dude maybe in the 60s or whatever. Let's see what happens here.
I didn't ask anything wrong at all. I was just questioning her belief that
Yeah, we get that.
men were not stronger than women physically, which was, it seemed pretty insane. Just ridiculous. It's a lot of programming. So I just wanted to gently prod and be like, hey, 'cause I just
I
couldn't-
mean, it is a type of programming, and new
I had no
ideas
idea
programmed.
She was upset, so I was so shocked when
in
she
our
was crying.
thoughts.
I was like, what? So I wanted to go over and make sure she was okay, and make sure, whatever. But then these guys came over and they started arguing and stuff, and it got really crazy. There was one guy, I think you only see him for a second. There was this white guy who was basically trying to put this narrative like, yeah, you've upset her, so it must be your fault because she's upset. And I was listening to them like, no, I don't agree with that at all. Actually, it's up to the person themselves to be responsible for their emotions.
Yeah, it's true.
Because a lot of situations in life, somebody could take offense, but no offense was intended. There was a story in a paper in London where a guy offered an older woman a seat on a bus, and she was like, "Oh, how dare you? What are you saying? I'm old. I'm only 57 or whatever." So she's offended, and the guy was trying to be a gentleman,
really?
a nice, kind person to let someone who was a bit older sit down.
You
So
know that I
it's
also
up to
lost.
us to be in charge of our emotions and our state. So it's really.
I
insane
pause
for me.
right here. I agree with this guy. I often take public transport, and I stopped doing that. I stopped being that kind of, in my opinion, for me personally, kind, because I've had a similar experience. And I'm like, all right, like, I wasn't doing it because I thought you were weaker or anything. I just was doing it because I thought, maybe you're more tired than I am, you're older than I am, and I just, with pleasure, give you my seat. I can stand. So that's basic. I would have done it also for an older man, of course, which I've always done. But yeah.
Really insane for him. So this guy was blaming me like, "Oh, you must have done something bad." I'm like, "No, your friend's crying has nothing to do with me."
Wow, she was really crying.
I'm
Why?
just out here, asking questions.
I mean, I can also understand that maybe
but that's sort of like self-development stuff, and most people are not. they're not
emotionally
really,
she was taken off
So
guard.
he was quite lost himself. And then these other fellows that came in, fellows that happen to be black, I really like those guys actually. They're interesting. We actually had an interesting debate with those guys afterwards, which would just take too long to go into. But yeah, once they realized we were just asking questions and stuff, everything was okay.
Yeah.
But for a moment there, I was like, oh, this is getting tense. This is fun. And there was a part of my head that was like, this is great footage. But we
Nice.
ended up not filming the rest of
PT.
the
I would have loved to see
conversation.
that.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
it was very interesting going out there. And,
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's stop right here. Well,
Anyway, so
again, I find this very interesting as well, and then we cut the video short here because we already probably past 10 minutes. It is really fascinating how we also programmed with new thoughts and ideas which they don't necessarily serve us to shorten the distances. I mean, again, it's so basic and obvious that there are certain differences and that's it, but they do not underline differences in terms of what we can achieve, both emotionally and spiritually, or practically in life. That's just, that's not just what it means, but to create alternative perception on how we deal with those differences, that can be harmful, because it's the same thing that we can do with ethnicities. Personally, I know we are all Homo sapiens sapiens. We are just basically variation of the same black dudes and women which they got out of Africa. That's it. That's what we are. We just moved away from the mainland basically, and with time we sort of developed different variation of skin, a little bit of features, the outside, which still today is the only thing we go by when we call for differences or to claim that there are differences. And in fact, you know, this whole thing just under half a centimeter of skin, it's all the same for everyone. So yeah, I mean, I like what the guy does with this simple, well, very simple way of approaching a debate. You know, you can put on the table some very simple concept and you can see where we're standing. And to me, it's very important that we move quickly through those things, you know, because it's 2018 and we should be aware of our inner spirituality, the greatness that we hold within, and all those little differences outside. The simpler we make them and the faster we acknowledge those things, the closer we can get as human beings, as Homo sapiens sapiens, because you know, we are lucky. We made it here. I always say this. We made it here. Nature has selected us over other species. We don't have Neanderthal here. We don't have the Hobbit hominid, which was discovered not long ago. Even though there is probably in some of us a little bit of the percentage of Neanderthal, which made it through with crossbreeding or whatever, whenever it happened. We are lucky. We are here. So let's do our part to keep evolving for the better.